YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We're gonna open up a box today. Here it is. If you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, we're gonna open this box. We're gonna unbox, build, and radio set up this thing. We're gonna show you everything you need to know about this amazing product. All new from Arrows. It's the P-51 850 millimeter. Let's pull it out and see what it looks like. If you guys are brand new to the channel, don't forget to smash the like button, click the bell for notifications, and subscribe. And here goes nothing. Why is it stuck on here? We gotta untape it. It's gonna be amazing. All right, here goes nothing. Okay, so we've got 3S. 1300's recommended battery size. If this one comes as a ready to fly, then you'll have the battery you need, generally speaking. If it comes in a plug-and fly, then you will get, generally, you're gonna get a Vector installed, but we're gonna have to just kind of throw caution to the wind on that because I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna work. It's an all new product, so of course it's an early release for us. So we're still learning along with you. Okay. So just cutting the foam from the foam, and it looks like there will be a little bit of assembly. So we have that. Let's see how little the assembly is. Okay, so you can see here we've got a manual. It looks like we've got some optional decals. Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet.
That's cool.
I don't think I'm gonna be doing any of those. The Vector manual, if you could just read this for me right here, that part right there.
Stabilization, reflex.
Oh, there's the part you can read. And then, of course, right here, the FSI-4X, which is the transmitter that's included with this in the ready-to-fly package. And we have a nice, that's sweet.
Cool.
I'm really liking this.
It is weird that it's 4 blades all together.
I like, well, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really gorgeous prop.
Very nice.
Okay, so then continuing on, it's kind of a weird unpackage because I'm trying not to like take all this weirdness out because I don't know how it's gonna fall back in there. So as we go, we've got one wing. My pitot tube is broke. I hate it when that happens. Maybe if you grab my pitot tube, you could straighten it up.
Yeah, I can straighten that for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of flopping over.
Yeah, I know, I noticed. Very smooth, look at that, guys.
Yeah.
The only thing you see is details. That's awesome, even on the aileron. Okay, so which leads me to a glaring defect. That would be no flaps. I like flaps on P-51s, especially as they get smaller, and I complain about that on every brand that makes them.
Missed something.
LEDs. LEDs,
Yeah.
amazing. So FMS got the memo, evidently. LEDs are something that people are demanding. I do think it'd be really nice if they could use an extension cord and split the power here so that we only have one cable to land. But there again, then they would probably put a flashing circuit in it and I would be annoyed about that. Look at this, the contour. It's actually very tight and crisp. So they must have really done some special molding on this one. Anyway, so we'll keep unboxing. And as you can see, we open this up. Everything is packaged really well. And then we get down to what's a charger. We're gonna probably jump on this right now. See if we can get the charger going. There's the charger. Good Lord, there's like, look at the packaging though. It reminds me of the 1.2 meter that is obviously made by FMS. Oh, wow, even the drop tanks are detailed.
Cool.
Guys, amazing. No, show them, like go up close, look at that. It's got the exhaust vents on there and everything. And we have some fixed gear, rock hard tires. These are extra diamond
hard.
sharpening blades. When they don't use the diamonds, they actually mix them into the foam and make the foam extra hard. You may want to pour an extra thick concrete slab so you don't break your slab when you bump into the ground.
Oh my goodness, holy
yeah,
crap.
they're like really hard.
That is really hard.
Which ironically enough, all these details you see can be undermined by that very one detail. Yeah. If you're into landing on hard strips, if you're not, and by the way, here's the, this is a cord that's gonna go to our charger. We've seen this style of charger before and it is just fine. It feels actually like a little bit higher quality than what we've seen on these little simple ones. This is a B3 compatible charger. So it's 3-cell or 2-cell compatible. So you've got your little Hextronics leads. So the one with 4 wires is a 3S. The one with 3 wires is a 2S. And so you can plug this in. Feels like it's got a good stout body to it, which is nice. Oh, bright LEDs. No information about what the LEDs mean, but we know what they mean and we'll teach you. Okay, so now pulling this up, we've got the Fly Sky transmitter. We've had these before from FMS, and no real complaints there. Or not FMS, but Arrows. We've got even decals for the prop.
I love the prop stickers.
So cool. And then look right here, we've got the thumb parts. Yep, so if you could grab my knob and just hang on to it for me. Put your hand out, let me drop my knob in there. Knobs. I don't know why there's 2, it's kind of weird. We should talk about this later. We also have a bind plug here. You don't probably need the bind plug in the Ready to Fly unless you're rebinding to a new transmitter. Okay, so this is just gonna go right here. Now, full disclosure, you can make these things longer or shorter because the bottom portion is like a jam nut. So if you need a little bit extra length, you can run that out first, brace it up against the side, and then screw it on. And it works pretty good, but I don't necessarily need a lot of extra length on the sticks. I'm comfortable with them the way they are. If you deviate from that, it's not a big deal, okay? Also, this is the bind key power. And then there's, why do they make this so hard to read? I can't read it.
To reverse.
No, what does that say? VM,
what is that?
Rudder, throttle, elevator, aileron. So these are servo reversers. Switch B, 3 position. Switch A, 3 position. Okay. And then, of course, the standard non-spring return. And then, of course, a trainer port and 4 AA's are needed. So I'm assuming that we probably won't get the AA's, but we're gonna have to put those in. Now, in order to charge the battery, I want to get started on that so we can have it charging 1300 3S, XT60 equipped, and Hextronics balance lead here. These Arrows packs have been fine. They're really kind of nothing to write home about, but they're also not bad, okay? So full disclosure, I'm going to show you that this will charge. And before I even start, I'll grab a more sophisticated tester, and then I'm going to grab the Predator from FMS. It's the only brand that makes these. That's a hilarious joke, guys, just in case you're wondering. Okay, so it looks like we got 11.5. So we're about 3.8, okay? And 3.8, and 3.82. So now you can take and stick this into your XBC battery checker if you want, or checker, and then you can see all of that live and in person, okay? Then, when we plug this in, you'll plug it in with the keys. You can't plug it in wrong unless you work really hard, and you probably could force it in there, but don't do that thing.
Right.
That'd be a bad idea, okay? So my suggestion to you on 1300 3S, since it is a good common size, you're gonna use it for more than just one plane. But if you don't already have one of these little alarms, you might wanna get one of these from FMS or a variety of other sources. Okay, so continuing along in our Unbox build radio setup, I know you guys wanna see the fuse, but no soup for you yet. Horizontal stabilizer. Looks like a wire connection between the left and the right. Ooh, pinch hinge. You better work that, guys.
Yeah.
Work it. Work it. Work it right. And then this ball joint is painted, I believe. Nope. No, I can't tell for sure. It might be painted. Yes, it is painted, so that could cause a little bit of bindiness, but I like the opaque red. It's beautiful. It's a nice contrast to the silver, okay? And I gotta say, this spinner looks good. It's a flat red, and it's going to work. Oh, it's a snap-on style though. Sorry, I just puked a little in my mouth. Okay, so there you go. Now, the other thing is, before I pull this thing out, I just want to say this thing is well packed. They don't waste a stinkle square cubic centimeter, a cubic millimeter of space. Oh, we've had this one before. It's the Lollipop. That thing is gorgeous. It is really nice looking. Dang. The retract, the not retract, but
the tail wheel.
The tail wheel is like not completely hard. And I gotta say the paint on this is really nice. I'm impressed. This feels more FMS than Arrows, so I'm not really sure why they did that branding. But that's okay, because I don't care as long as it works. And those are active vents.
Oh, they are.
Wow. Man, they were really putting some quality into this. I mean, it's surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. By the way, go ahead and grab my canopy and lift it off. Oh, they have a battery tray slide in. Oh, buddy. And then they have the unnecessary warning label. Excuse me, very necessary warning label. So dang it, why the heck didn't they put flaps on this thing? Because they're so dang close to perfection. And also, I'm gonna just stuff this down here. You guys do not want your servo for your freaking elevator to cut this off. And by the way, if you decide to put in, this is the way it's gonna come. This will be gone if you buy this as a plug-in fly in most circumstances. And so you're gonna have this 6-channel receiver here. It looks like you do have a spare channel. So you could hypothetically, you could add these obnoxious antennas are so big for a small plane. Like you really almost can't get away with it in a plane this size. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist that around because this is not spatially aware, okay? And I'm gonna stuff this down in here. Oh man, get in there, you turd lover.
Right on top of those linkages though?
No, I'm trying to get past them. That's the whole point of what I'm doing. There's a sleeve around them, and that's what I was gonna point out, but my hand is currently in the way, okay? You can lay down the canopy, please. Thank you. So, look, this is what I was doing, camera crew.
Okay, I see now.
So, you see what I did? Pretty simple stuff. These things are supposed to be diversity, so the best thing you can do is probably just like honestly take them and just stuff them back there. One of them back, one of them forward. They really need to be at 90 degrees of each other, but they're too thick. They're too long and too strong.
Yeah.
So you can't get away with it like you would on a bigger, more sophisticated radio system where we normally tape our antennas the 28 millimeters of active portion down. But I'm thinking about when I go to load my battery, I don't want to fight that every freaking time because that's going to be a real pain in the neck. So I'm just stuffing this all back. You guys see what I'm doing? There it goes. It finally popped back into that back cavity. Right there. See that? Mm-hmm. That worked pretty darn good. Okay, so now my next thing is, we do have a yellow wire on the throttle too, which means we probably have thrust reverse. Okay, so just, my concern on this plane is got less to do with the plane and more to do with me. But I mean, we might even be able to get thrust reverse on this thing if we wanted it.
You're not going to be able to program it on that.
We won't be able to program it on there.
Fly Sky transmitter.
Yeah, so I guess that'd be like one of those where we would just end up pulling out the receiver and then putting in our own. Now, you don't have to do that, obviously. We're not going to do it on this plane because we want to show it as is, see if it flies. But just real quick note for you all. It's basically like putting together a bigger plane. Mm-hmm. So just keep in mind if you're trying to do like a rush build out at the field, you're not going to be doing that. So there may or may not have been a competitive release that was right around the same time. And so if you're looking for a distinguishing factor, it's going to come in the fact that this thing, you have to build it, okay? It's not hard. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but you're feeding wires through, you're putting screws in. It's going to be a much more involved build. And for that reason, we're going to clean up and come right back. So it took a little longer than we expected to clean up. 3 days later. It feels like it. So we have to put the batteries in this transmitter, okay? So right here, stick them in. The flat goes to the spring side, as you can see. This does not come with batteries for the transmitter. So you have to provide your own AA's. Most of the Chinese variety airplanes will not come with batteries in your transmitter unless it's a rechargeable. Occasionally we do have a rechargeable battery involved. We'll make sure to point it out. In this case, those are ones we got from Harbor Freight for like, they actually paid us to take them. They were super high quality. Okay, so now that it's on, you can see there's a light. It says high, mid, or something, low. I don't know. This silk screen is terrible on
here. It's
throttle, rudder, aileron, okay? Switch B, switch A, don't know what they do. We'll mark them here in a little bit. And then there's a bind button that you do not need to press. Okay, so we'll just turn that back off. Okay. Now, as you can see the piece count, now that it's all laid out, we already kind of showed those in the unbox portion. We're gonna go ahead and start the assembly by passing, are we gonna do the tail first or do you wanna do the wing first?
Either one. The wings are always
Well, the
in the
wings-
way, but it's small, so it shouldn't be
Well,
so bad.
I know, and that's my concern is this antenna, by the way, is gonna be in the way. So what I'm gonna do is I have to slide this. If you guys ever get one of these Robart plane stands, when they first come, they're incredibly hard to slide. Take some talcum powder and put them on these rods, and then you can slide them a million times easier. Also, if you ever wanna buy a supply that we talk about on this channel, we don't always say this, but you can follow our accessories link on brianphillipsrc.com, which is also available from bprc.me. That's our short link to the same place, okay? So check out the accessories and supplies. Yep. Okay, so elevator needs to slide in. We'll do that first. We need the longer screws. Okay, so let's open up our screw bag. Okay, so they staple these things. If you guys don't know why they staple them, that's so that the bag doesn't come undone and lose hardware all over the planet. Okay, so there's that. And then these are sticker decals, okay, for the props, which, do we have a picture of it?
Yes.
Looks like they go inboard
That
here.
one goes on the outside. That one goes on the outboard, and then the yellow writing goes on the inboard portion.
What?
Right? Are my eyes getting really old?
Yeah, it goes out here. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stick them on because I'm just bumping into it as I go. So I'm just gonna put them outboard, and I'm just leaving this the same position because I can't tell what's up and down. And I don't know that there's really a particularly right or wrong spot. Normally that'd be about midway, I thought. But if you can't get these off with your finger, use an X-Acto knife, and you can use the edge of the blade. I'll show you that next real quick. But speaking of supplies, try not to stab yourself with your X-Acto knife. But anytime you see something on Brian Phillips RC like China glue, CA, things like that, we have links to all that stuff. If you follow the links, you help support the channel financially and help to propagate the hopefully successful outcome of our channel's efforts, which are to minimize one and dones, meaning people that start the hobby and quit because they come quickly dejected by picking the wrong plane at the wrong time for the wrong reasons and then not getting support in their efforts. And then also trying to teach people how to put things together and get the most out of these applications. That didn't go on very square. I'm a little disappointed in myself. But I'm just gonna keep working my way around. See, if you do it like this, you can sometimes get it a little bit more controlled. That's very sticky, which is good because these things are gonna be spinning around. Make sure you put them equidistant. It will throw your prop out of balance if you don't, okay? So if you put these on, you have to put them at least on opposing sides, okay? Or it will cause your prop to vibrate violently. You can also use these stickers to balance your prop, but I tend to think that the easiest way to do it is to use clear tape or put it on a prop balancing tool, which is basically this apparatus that you hang the prop on, and there's a shaft that goes through here, and then you just like let it spin and the heavy one goes down, okay? Or pair. It doesn't work as good on multi-bladed props, full disclosure in my experience. Okay, so there you have, pretty sweet looking prop. And now we can throw this away and get rid of this death machine here. So we'll just put this out of the way for now. There will be some more decals. I'm not sure we're gonna put them on this particular plane. So now we have one more empty sack working through quickly. We're gonna look for the longer of the screws. Now right here, hex drive, 1.5 or 2, you suppose?
2, I would assume.
Yep, you're right, camera crew. So that's a 2. So a 2 millimeter. This is the shorter ones, and these are the longer ones. So we're gonna take the longer ones, are gonna work for the rudder. Okay, so 2 millimeters. And I think we need 2 of them.
2 of them, yeah.
You can tell because there's 2 holes on this, okay? So obviously this thing has to stay out. So when you slide it through, it just kind of goes through like this. And this little chunk of the tail feather will move up and down, so just be careful you don't want to break it off on accident. This paint is like really it's more slick than some other paint choices that they've used in the past. So it doesn't stick to itself badly, which is kind of nice.
Oh.
Okay, so now this goes through here. And I don't know if you guys picked up on the fact that I loaded that screw on so that I could start the screw easier, but I don't feel like it's purchasing right now. You have to be a little bit careful.
There was no sound of
No,
a screw
like it
going
hit.
into a nutsert.
Well, there it was. I heard it that time. But that doesn't mean that the tip went in. Sometimes it's just striking the nutsert. I'm just gonna, it's really long, so it could be. Okay, so I pulled it out.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the back screw first. Okay, same thing. Can you come over here, please? Put the camera straight down. No, like this. Do you guys see what I'm looking at? There's barely a gap there. See? It's not centered. I gotta move it away from the camera crew, just a hair, and that's gonna get this alignment here so that it's centered, okay? Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. There's not really a good trick because this has, it's so dark down at the bottom of that hole, I just can't see. That sounded pretty good. And I can't help but feel like I'm getting purchase. Yep, I got it. Yep.
Okay.
And you can tell because then there's resistance when it's tight. Okay, so that one's good at least. So if all heck broke loose right now, we could just say, yep, good enough. I can't tell if it's going or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and pivot this just a hair. Yep, there it dropped. Did you guys see it drop?
Yep.
That's how I got it to work, okay? And yep, just similar to what we see from like FMS planes. Once you get alignment really close, they drop in. They like to find the home position because the jigs are good. By the way, that is not a given. There's a few different model types that might rhyme with Snynum that almost never line up, but they do sometimes.
Maybe sometimes.
Maybe a little better now, but still. Okay, so that's cool. That landing gear looks really neat. That is gonna swivel back and forth, but I think it's cool that they added that detail. And by the way, this is called a C-clip, and that C-clip keeps it really small. But I'm curious if we're gonna lose the C-clip. We have historically lost C-clips like that on this type of landing gear. Not that small. They usually have C-clips on the big mains. And for whatever reason on the P-51s, we've lost them a few times. If you ever lose a C-clip and you're trying to recreate one, take the plastic from like one of your receivers. Stay there, hold that thought. I know this is what people love. They love when I give them awesome ideas like this, but like this plastic on this receiver, that stuff. Take scissors and cut a little square and then cut and just like take and open up the hole just a tiny, teeny bit with the tip of your blade. And then you can stick that thing on and mimic a C-clip and it will work.
Make a little like retainer clip out of the plastic.
You would make a C-clip out of it, okay? And I know you guys think I'm crazy, but I've done it multiple times, okay? All right, so now this thing needs to be attached, okay? So this linkage here, I'm just gonna show you this real quick. Why do you keep walking away from me?
I was gonna look for the
No, just right here.
Goes in.
See, I'm holding this right here. I'm gonna try to twist it and it moves, okay? So I went a couple of turns and then I'm gonna go a couple of turns back. Why? Because I wanna thread it onto the rod. You see how white my fingers are? I'm just like squishing all the blood out of them. See that mark? Got a little Z-bend. You can also use a tool to do this. A lot of times you have to break them free. This one I didn't have to break free. Why do you wanna run it in and out a few times? Because it's a lot easier. Now, camera crew, what hole do I need to put this in? It appears that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them on the servo.
This is
The outside hole.
No, on the horn it goes on the outside hole. On the arm it goes to the second
Megan,
from the outside.
on the control horn from the servo,
Yep.
we don't put this in.
The second to
This is put in. Show the people.
yes, at the ball
This
link.
is put in. You got to point the camera over here because you were pointing down.
Yes.
This is here already. You don't pick that, kids.
Nope. Even though it's in the directions.
Yeah.
The second to the outside.
Okay. So everybody, pay attention for a second. So this is going to go in the second from the outside. Okay, so here's the first from the outside. Here's the second from the outside. The reason I show that is because many times you have to open up that hole. This is a perfect fit. You don't have to open up the hole. That's a good thing, okay? So good job, arrows. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do not know if this is centered. I'm just gonna assume it's close, and I wanna get it in the ballpark. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm counting for a reason. So I'm at 15 and I'm about where it is, so I need to go in a couple. 1, 2, 3. Did you guys see when I pulled on that? That's because I wanna make sure this thing doesn't rip off, okay? That may or may not have happened to me with an SU-27.
May or may not have.
Definitely did. Okay, if you haven't seen it, it was pretty dramatic. All right, so we're done with that. It's not snapped on, it's just sort of loose, okay?
Okay.
If you're brand new, don't even put it on until you're ready. When you're ready is when you turn this on and it's bound and the throttle is safe and you know it's not gonna fly away on you or try to pull away from you on the counter or on the plane stand, and then you put that on. We have the skills and experience to not hopefully miss that, because if you accidentally have it on there and it's wrong, you may find that there are some special rewards for you when you go to take off. So we'll talk about that a little later. Okay, so continuing on, we have to put the wing on. So camera crew's gonna step back. She's gonna stay over here this time.
Okay.
This needs to go onto the plane. Obviously the wires have to get pulled out. I like to grab these carefully and just work them flat. Okay, that'll give me a little bit more length to work with. And then I'm gonna turn the plane flat. And this has to pass through into the cavity where all the rest of the wires are. So this is gonna be a nasty turn. Also, we have to have this rod through, this wing joiner. Okay, so that passes through. Now you can pass it through so it's barely in your way, or you can pass it through halfway. But just keep in mind, whatever you do, the other wing is gonna have to be, you know, you can't put it in last because you have to have the wings on, okay? So I'm gonna take my canopy off by pulling this back and then lifting. Very good fit, by the way. I like that. And you see there's gonna be an opening down here somewhere.
Oh, yep.
Where?
Well, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I can't see it hardly. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to put this thing through. It's gonna be kind of a little bit of a chore, okay? So I'm gonna bend the wires the way I think they need to go. Then I'm gonna slip this on so that the tip is on, okay? I'm gonna slide this back. And they call this a quick removable wing. This is not quick removable. If you have to feed wires through, it is not quick or removable.
No.
It's removable, but it's not quick, okay? So whatever the marketing materials say, just disregard that detail, okay? That's why you come to Brian Phillips RC. First, we're gonna tell you the no BS, full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. And we're gonna try to help you guys make good decisions with your RC dollars, okay? Because at the end of the day, we want you guys to have success. Look, you see them? So this is not one to slide on. You see this here? It's really giving me just turmoil here. Why is it not going in there? I think I need to pull here, but I want that to drop in without screwing up and marring this finish.
Pushing it.
There it goes. Okay, so that's a really pretty good fit. And by the way, I gotta say, so far, really good fitment on this plane. Okay, so now, if the wires are both, the center of gravity is marked for us. Hey, every other manufacturer, just put it right there and we don't have to mark it. That would be awesome. Goodness gracious. Okay, so now I push that joiner rod through, and all I'm gonna do is just grab these wires. See, I'm gonna try to do it without a special tool, but admittedly we already had this tool, so I'm gonna use this rather than get my forceps. Okay. I want these out of the way. I want them out of the way. Why do I want them out of the way? Because I'm about to introduce a new pair of wires. So if you don't know what forceps are, I'm just gonna get them so I can show you what they are, because they are handy. Oh, also, this battery, strangely enough, it's fully charged. So if you have a better charger, a more robust charger, like the S2200, I'll show you how to set that up too. If you guys are in it for the long haul, got zip ties falling out like crazy, these are forceps. Okay, straight forceps. These are bent tip forceps, also known as hemostats. Okay, hemostats would be used in a surgical environment. Forceps would be used in a surgical environment. I'm not a surgeon unless it comes to RC planes. Okay. Come over here.
Oh, we're showing them the battery now?
Look, Predator When they're charged, they're green. I'm gonna put the black over here. See how it says negative right there? That's where I wanna line up the negative. It's gonna beep loud. This will tell you the voltages on the 3 cells. Okay, so 12.7 is the nominal voltage, all of them added. 4.19, 4.21, and 4.22. Okay, so it actually overcharged a little bit. Okay, turn on the charger. If you want to use a smart charger, you can certainly do that. I highly recommend keeping every little adapter like this that you get when you buy Arrows. This isn't an Arrows pack. This came from another brand, and I think it might have been
We used to get those red.
Yes, it's a Predator battery, I think. No, it's not Predator. Maybe it is Predator. No, there's another brand that likes to come with these. And folks, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Right here, Venom.
Yes.
Venom comes with those adapters, okay? Yep. So if you buy a Venom battery, keep those adapters, even if you don't need it for your particular plane that you're playing with, it will come in handy because those things are nice, but they're really hard to unplug. So when I'm doing a charging system like this, or I want to plug into my charger, a lot of times I will defer to something like this. This happens to be the wrong end. And once we get one of those correct ends like this, it makes it a lot easier to charge, okay? Whoops. So this is the one that we got with the plane. So we'll just go ahead and plug in the balance lead. It's gonna detect the voltage of the pack. Now, of course, it's fully charged. It's not gonna charge it. You'll notice it's the same as what we got within a tenth of a volt or 0.01 volts. Press and hold. It's set to 2200, so I just click this and you have to scroll in 1.3. Now 1.3 amps is the same as, can you go back a little bit, please? Go back a little bit, thank you. This is 1300 milliamp hours, so that's 1300 M stands for milli, or 1,000th of an amp hour, okay? Amp is a measure of current. Milli is a measure of a prefix, rather, and then hours is a measure of time. This is a measure of voltage, and power. Power is a constant of voltage times current, okay? 25C has to do with the discharge rate, which is done through this plug, the XT60, which is generally rated for 30 amps is what we consider it within the hobby. So if you get a battery like this one happens to be a 25C, so it's kind of the same thing. Predator is a brand that is used many times by FMS. FMS and Arrows, as you may know, are basically the same company. So anyway, so we're gonna go down to start. So if I put 2.6, 2.6 would be 2C for charge rate, okay? So now that's gonna start, it's not gonna do anything, it immediately comes to full, and you can see this, right? So the precision goes out an extra digit here. So obviously, the cool thing about this little charger thingy, this little voltage alarm, is that you can do a lot of what you do with the more sophisticated tool, and you can have it there to alarm when your voltage is low in a plane just like this. But just remember, this might take up too much space in certain applications. It's a pretty tight application, okay? So you also hear the cooling fan running like crazy. As soon as you disconnect your battery, it'll shut the cooling fan off, okay? The reason the cooling fan is on is because this thing will automatically try to balance this circuit, okay? This is also a balanced charger, so it charges at a very slow rate through small pins on each individual cell, rather than charging through, forcing a larger amount of power through the main discharge lead, and then later balancing, okay? Because what happens is with this type of charger, you charge through the balance lead. With this type of charge, you charge through the main discharge lead, and then you simultaneously balance it, okay? If you have a smart battery, now mind you, this is a Gen 1 pack, so it still has a balance lead involved. This is automatically balancing itself in a small circuit here. You can see it's kind of like bulged out here, okay? That's the smart circuit. This is the battery portion, okay? The same is true on a more sophisticated, this is kind of a beat up 3200, so it's about 3 times the size, roughly. This has no balance lead, but there's still a battery management controller here. That's part of the smart circuit, and this data line carries the extra data transmission when it hooks up to the charger, so it knows the serial number, charge cycles, discharge cycles, errors, things like that, and software application stuff. This doesn't have that. It's just a battery, okay? That's why we call it a dumb battery. This comes with the plane. If you want to upgrade to a better, more sophisticated charger, of course, we link to this stuff in our smart stuff links. I would highly recommend it when you're serious about getting into flying more planes, because you're going to want to charge faster than what something like this can produce. But this will do it just fine. Just takes a little bit longer. And by the way, you can tell how fast it's going to charge by looking on the back here. It says, you want to pull back so you're blocking the light. See how it says 3 times 800 milliamp hours? So this is charging at 800 milliamp hours, more or less, okay? We were set to charge at 1.3 milliamp hours on that, but you could go faster. On a 25C pack, generally you'd be safe at about 2.5 times the regular charge rate, okay? Which means you're gonna be running at what is 2.5 times 1300. I would just say you'd be safe at about 2, so 2.6. But 2.6 times 2, or times, add half again as much, you'd be at what, like 3 amp hours? Okay, we went over there to get forceps. This is what happens when you deal with squirrels. Squirrel. Forceps are used. Camera crew is gonna put her hand here, hold this, thank you. Then I'm gonna grab these, and just so I can control them and manipulate them, see? Then these can also be clamped on carefully to the plastic, but not onto the wire, okay? So then that allows us to plug into the respective ports. And you're like, where's the ports? You put your transmitter way back in here. No, because we don't plug to that. We plug into these are going to go here, right there, see? And that is all hooked up to the vector unit, which is similar to, but not the same as a reflex and an FMS, but it's similar to, but not the same as AS3X and SAFE on a Spectrum transmitter and receiver, okay? But it's less sophisticated, okay? All right, so this is a wire that goes to something. I'm assuming it's ailerons because they decided not to actually label it. I don't know why. This one here goes to something else. I don't know why. This one here goes to a rudder. It's already hooked up, okay? The throttle is labeled, which we already knew. It's super obvious. So did they not?
There should just be a 4Y in there, a 4-way Y cable. Are there 4?
A 4-way Y cable? Oh, for the LEDs?
For the ailerons and the LEDs all together.
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't matter which one the LED plugs into, and it doesn't matter which one the ailerons plug into, because they're actually connected together. Which, by the way, full disclosure, you could set this up with an AR631, and you could do flaperons, but I would not recommend it, okay? So the other place where forceps come in real handy is when you've got small connectors and you've got a tight body to work within, okay? So you see how this, the red is away from me. The red is away from me. The black goes to the brown. Of course, I've got this picked up backward. It gets awkward to do this stuff with these chopsticks, but I'm gonna tell you this. It's easier at times to do this than it is the alternative, which is trying to get your hands in here, because these wires are not long enough to reach out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just turn this. And this is why I kind of say, yeah, this is not a quick, assembly thing out in the field necessarily. It's not gonna take like a ton of time. Okay, so this is gonna be awkward to line up. It's just, I don't know if I get my hand in there very good. Get one hand in there, but not two, that's for darn sure. Man, those pins are hard to get to, and plus your hand is right in the way. Okay, we're gonna have to put the other wing on so it'll balance.
Okay.
Okay guys, let go. So these wires I'm gonna straighten out just like I did on the last one. Grab here at the base so you don't yank them out of the wing, and go full out, kind of give it a little bit of a tug. Wires are malleable and ductile, which means you can stretch them out a little bit, which will straighten them. But just remember, taking the memory out of a cable takes the memory out of the case or the sheath around the cable, but it also stretches the copper. You can break a cable if you're not careful. If you're strong, you should be able to rip this in half. Don't do that. You're just trying to straighten it, okay? So I'm gonna just put this in, the edge. You see how I just lined this on the edge? This is what I wanna show them, the edge. Okay, once it's on the edge, then I'm gonna slide these 2 cables in. Okay, and you're probably thinking to yourself, but which wire goes where, Brian? How are you gonna know which one's which? Well, that's kind of what the camera crew was elaborating on. Let go, don't touch it. It's gonna balance now, okay? What she's saying is there's a 4-way splitter and you don't have to do anything special. You just quite literally just pick any of them, they'll work. Okay, so I'm just grabbing the excess so it's pulled through. I don't know if you can see that crack. Okay, now I should be able to just slide this through. Okay, very good.
Well, not good.
Now, before I forget, we have to put the bolts in. So I'm just gonna take the outside. You can't usually do this on planes that are too big. I'm just gonna push it together, close the gap, flip it over, careful not to have a wing shoot off on you. Careful of your antenna back there too. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. These are the shorter ones. And something you'll find with arrows that you don't necessarily find with FMS all the time is that you do get an extra screw of each basic type. Sometimes the spinner screw, they don't give you an extra because there's only one of them. But for whatever reason, they've decided, you see how I pulled that gap shut. Okay. Now this is a quick release wing in the order of wings, but I don't think it's quick release because it's gonna be a pain in the butt to get that thing wired in.
Right.
Okay. That was kind of what I was saying when we first unboxed it. I said, why didn't they just combine the LED function with the wire that goes out to this? Because like there's a connector probably about here, I'm guessing. It could be that wire goes all the way through. I don't know for a fact, but it looks like there's probably a bump there.
Well, luckily in this size class, hopefully too many people don't have to take it apart.
Yeah, who's taking apart this plane? Good Lord. Maybe to ship it in the box.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about extra screws real quick and extra nuts. There's a nut, a washer, that goes with your spinner right there. And then that, of course, will go with the prop.
Yep.
And then these are extras, okay? This was the same as what went in the vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer assembly here. And then this is what went into the wing 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got some extras. You can put those over here. And then eventually when you have enough of them, you can build a house.
Yes,
Like
we're getting close.
Yep. See this? That really annoys me that that's messed up.
Bent.
I'm just pushing it back over.
Okay.
Now, if you have something like that, okay, so let's talk about foam repair for a second. If you guys are big poo-pooers of foam, I'm just gonna warn you. First of all, foam is an awesome media to work within because you can make it light, but you can do reinforcements of different foam, different than foam, like CA, like carbon fiber, plastic, nylon. Sometimes they use fiberglass. Sometimes they use balsa wood. Sometimes they use basswood. And to get the dihedral in this wing, they have a carbon fiber tube that goes between them, which you guys already saw slide through. And then there's a carbon fiber sleeve that goes through the fuse, and then a carbon fiber receiver, or fiberglass many times that goes out the length of the wing. Okay, in this case, there is a certain amount of dihedral. So obviously you can't put a straight rod through because it would only reach so far, correct? So you have to keep and maintain the strength of the wing. So a lot of times you can see wherever these little squares are, square, like that, there's actually a wing strut that goes out the length of the wing, okay? Here and here. Because this is opaque, I can't just hold it up to the light and say, hey, look. If it was painted white, or if it was a lighter color, or if it was not painted, a lot of these smaller foam planes have white bodies, like that Viper over there has a white body, the Sportix has a white body, the Cabin has a white body. This has a painted body, and so you can't see through. So you have to take my word for it on that. But many times we'll share that. Okay, so now this thing came out, it was damaged in shipping. It's the only thing that was damaged. I can feel China glue on it, so I could probably just stick it back in and it'd be fine. But I think on that one, just because the nature of where it is, there's enough damage on the foam that I probably can't get away with it. So I'm just gonna show you some glue real quick. You wanna just bear with me a second, camera crew? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab kicker, and I'm gonna grab 3 types of CA. If you guys are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, obviously we do a lot of stuff like this on Brian Phillips RC. You're thinking, you know, Brian, I know about CA. Fine. You gotta remember there's a lot of people that don't. This is what some would consider to be a beginner plane. I might not, because I don't think it's gonna fly like a beginner plane. I think it's gonna fly like a more experienced plane. Okay, so let's talk about the different colors of tips. This is Bob Smith Industries CA. This is Bob Smith Industries kicker. Yes, if you're buying this plane, you probably can't buy this brand at this website. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can't.
You can't.
But you can buy Bob Smith Industries at every hobby shop in the country, and you can buy them online. They sell, this is a very popular brand. Okay, I like Bob Smith Industries. We don't work with them direct, but we have Amazon links and things like that. We have a bunch of different places through our supplies tab. This is black, so it's gonna be foam safe, odorless, and it's also odorless and foam safe are synonymous. You notice I didn't cut my tip. I never cut my tips on these bottles, except for the stuff I go through the fastest, which is like this is medium, not foam safe. It would probably work on this. This is EPO 40. I'm gonna just gamble, okay? This is not foam safe, so it's considerably cheaper. I'm just gonna do a big drip, okay? You guys don't see me do a lot of foam with CA. I don't do a lot of gluing with CA because I like China glue. It works good. But on this application, I want to see if the foam responds well. So this will be a quick test for us. But then this will also make a nice rigid mount, okay? Once that's in there, just take one drip of kicker, and you'll notice I'm using the back end of the stick, and it's got like goop on it. That's the CA that's set up over time. I break that off once in a while. I almost never spritz it on there because the first thing to fail on these is the sprayer. And yes, this is a Pringles lid.
That's an aftermarket. You have to get your own.
You have to get your own Pringles.
Your own
we don't have any
Pringles.
links to Pringles.
We should.
We'll link to Pringles on the supplies page. So anyway, guys, the viscosity is the difference between this is thick like syrup. This is thin like water. This is foam safe, foam safe. The color schemes are within the same spectrum. So this is medium. The blue is thin like this, but not foam safe. And the pink is thick, okay? I don't know that they make a thick in the foam safe. They just have medium and thin, okay? My experience, my grandpa, he's passed now, used to use a lot of pink CA because he wouldn't use kicker because I don't think he knew it existed really at the time. And when I was younger, I didn't know it existed. And it did for some time, but I didn't know about it. And I used to build balsa wood planes when I was a kid. I built an F-14, I built an F-5, I built P-51. I built a bomber like a B-52. I built a lot of them and I really enjoyed it, but I never flew RC airplanes as a kid because it was always like cost prohibitive. It was too complicated, too expensive. I didn't have the time, whatever it was. I had lots of good excuses, right? Just like you guys.
Yep.
And so, but my grandpa did build them. He just never electrified them. That's what he liked to say. And so about the time they moved and downsized as they were getting older, he needed to get rid of a bunch of stuff. So he gave me a bunch of stuff. And to be honest, it sat in my basement for a long time. I didn't mess with it. I probably should have. But then when I did start messing with it, I was simultaneously starting to mess with stuff myself. And it gave us this really cool connection where he would build these planes. And then I was always really enjoy looking at them. But they were just like rubber band powered, or, you know, it might be a glider, but we never threw them. We never glided them. But these were Gillows models. They would have flown fine. They were SIG models. They would have flown great. And so I can't encourage you enough, when you're learning about this hobby, don't waste the time you have with the people that you love, because you can enjoy this. This is intergenerational, folks. So this is a P-51. They've been making, the P-51s made years, many years ago, okay? And it's an awesome spectacle to see in real life. But an RC, same thing. You know, where else can you get a kid away from their screen than with RC, okay? So just remember, don't miss the opportunities. Because I worked for a good 3.5 years or so before my grandpa had passed away, working with him to electrify his planes, as he liked to call them. And we've got video footage of us flying his planes. Of course, I wasn't very good at the time. And it's really cool to be able to go back and enjoy those experiences and relive them. So take advantage of those opportunities. And I don't know why CA has anything to do with that, but I'm just gonna show you this. So of course, this is glued now. So pretty easy fix. Yes, there's a little bit of a marred finish there, but it would have been kind of a sloppy one anyway. My point is, this hobby transcends generational gaps in a way that other hobbies don't always do such a good job of. I mean, of course, you go golf with your grandparents. You could go, you know, go to the shooting range and enjoy things like this, or you could go out and, you know, you're not going to go play video games together. That would be unusual. I mean, you suppose you could, but I've never heard of it. This fly is obviously has something to say about it.
Decided it needed to be part of the video.
So anyway, my point is this: take advantage of all the valuable commodities of this hobby, and we're going to do the same. And we're going to help to encourage you as you get into this hobby in the ways that you might not have thought of. And that's one of them, one of the biggest actually. Okay. All right. So now we have to plug all this crap in. And I'm just thinking, this is a real pain in the neck, right? So this brown goes to the black. So you're going to have to be creative, because I cannot be any better with what I'm doing here. That is hard to plug in, folks.
Can I turn on my light?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time getting the pins to line up inside of this connector, okay? Full disclosure. So part of what we do on this channel is we try to teach you what to do, but we also want to point out the different, okay, so it went, okay? So you see how it went back past this tooth. This is designed for 3 wires. So this capture mechanism is not going to work on the LED, but it will on the servo connection, okay? Which is what matters more, okay? By the way, I know people get nervous like, oh, well, what if it comes undone? I better put like 6 gallons of glue on there. No, don't worry about it. You're never gonna have a wire come undone unless you don't get it seated in the first place or you crash. Upon a crash, you do need to investigate. Okay, so brown is down, brown is down. Brown is the ground, power is red, and signal is orange. Like over here, this is a Futaba color code. This is the Hextronics JR color code. Okay, so you see the orange, red, and brown. So they do the same thing. They're just made by different manufacturers, okay? So that's closed down. Or it's a different manufacturing color spec. So this also has an this yellow wire. That additional yellow wire is for thrust reverse in most applications that we have found. Sometimes it's a programming cable. I don't know what it is on this, so I'm not gonna tell you with certitude because I haven't tested it yet. But just keep in mind, if that was thrust reverse, that is just the signal line. And you're like, but Brian, how does signal alone work? There's not a ground and power. Well, that's because the ground and power are already common to these 2 wires. So all you would have to do is go back to your receiver and plug it into that spare port down there. You would plug this into wherever the signals are lined up, okay? And once you do, when you actuate that signal, it's going to change the direction that the prop spins. But it's not going to change the amplitude of the throttle condition. In order to change the amplitude, this is if it's the thrust reverse, and it may not be, would be this. Okay, so let's say that we hooked it up and it was on this. That might be forward, that might be forward, or that might be forward, but it's probably this or that. Okay, if it's like other Predator ESCs or even the Avians, which would be a Horizon Hobby product, it'd be minus 100 would be forward, which is goofy, and then plus 100 would be reverse. Okay, so whatever the ordinary direction of flight would be minus 100 on the pulse width modulation scale within the spectrum arena, okay? So some of the systems speak to the pulse width modulation in terms of minus 100, 0, plus 100, 0, minus 100. You see how I'm moving the throttle? On the throttle channel, that'd be 0. That'd be plus 100, that'd be 0. That's minus 100. The same is true for a switch condition. It just happens to be 3 positions and not 475 unique positions in an analog sense, right? So this is still an analog channel. It's just set to predisposed positions based on that switch outcome, okay? So down would be minus 100 plus, 0 and then plus 100, right? Now the cool thing is when you get into a programmable transmitter, which is what we're gonna encourage you to do on all of your planes, then you would have something like this, an NX10, or maybe this NX7E, which is considerably less expensive, NX8, NX6, whatever it happens to be. Wouldn't recommend getting a DX right now because they're eventually gonna drop support on those, but the NX10 has 20 channels. So no, you can't bind this to this plane because that is an FR Sky. It uses a different technology, a different protocol, okay? The protocol that these talk to each other is it's AFHSD. AFHDS. Did I say that backward? AF, point at it.
This one?
No.
Where? Oh, this.
Right there.
AFHDS. Yep.
This is DSM2 or DSM-X. In our case, DSM-X is the more ladder, the more current. DSM2 and DSM are the older, okay? This will work with all those. So you'd have to put in a different receiver. Now you don't have to buy a sophisticated receiver. You can get just a basic 6-channel receiver, which is what they're using with this. And you can take advantage of the stabilization and the auto leveling that's built into this little device here called the Vector. If you're brand new to the channel, on Brian Phillips RC, we talk about all this crap. And don't be overwhelmed because it's easy to become overwhelmed. If you're just figuring out that you can bind a transmitter to a plane, you're like, so does that mean that I could have another plane and bind this transmitter to it? Sure it does, if you have the right receiver, which you probably don't. Okay, this is a ready to fly package. And that receiver is AFHDS, 2.4 gigahertz, okay? That is a specific protocol. So there's a transmission protocol that's being used, and there is full duplex communication. There's a limited amount of telemetry that comes back. I don't know that it's useful to us in this application, but you can also get programmable transmitters in the Fly Sky arena. I do not talk about them. There's also FR Sky. I don't know if it's the same, but then there's a couple of other like cheaper options like Radio Master, and that'd be called an OpenTX, okay? So OpenTX, you can choose a variety of different protocols with which to bind, okay? We use Spectrum because it's easier to start, and that is a huge commodity. When you're brand new to the hobby, you need to take this huge plethora of worldwide information that you really don't want to learn, because you need somebody to just say, do this, because it'll work and it's going to get you started. Then you can start applying what you've learned to these other open, more open choices. Like you go over to Futaba. Futaba is very high quality. It's actually, some would argue, better than Spectrum. I like Spectrum. I'm a Spectrum guy myself. We also work with the Spectrum people, so that has, you know, part to do with what. And I also started flying with Spectrum myself. Partly because my grandpa chose it, and I would have chose it years ago too when I was getting a CP1 helicopter. That was in the Spectrum world, okay? But at the time, there was less choices and it was a lot more expensive. So what I'm trying to say is we're gonna help cut through a lot of the information so we can teach you something that's applicable to you. And right now, what's applicable to you is where to land the rest of these wires. Okay, so there's another red and black. And yes, if you're confused by that, don't feel bad. You would be in the extreme majority if you're confused by what I just talked about. And that's okay, be confused. It's literally okay to be confused a little bit. We will work through it with you. But if you're expecting to come out of this one video and have a deep understanding of how all this crap works, you are fooling yourself, because I'm a tech guy. I work on industrial scales for a living. I write software. I do a lot of integration work. I do a lot of different weird high-tech things. I work on machines, and I know what I'm doing. I'm good at it. Not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying that it is something I do, and it takes years to get good at that. Well, you're not going to walk into this arena and just know it all today. And if you think you will, you're probably going to be very grossly disappointed. We don't want you to be disappointed. We want to teach you so you can start building those skills on other skills. And a lot of times you're going to find that little bit of a knowledge gap, and we're going to help you bridge that knowledge gap. Okay, so now there's one more. It's down there. I don't know if you guys can tell what I'm doing. I am trying to do some cable management as I go. Bent tip this time. I'm going to reach under here, grab this, kind of hang on to it, pull it up. And every time I do one wire, I make it just slightly less ridiculous. Okay? You guys see this? You see why I'm saying it's so stupid and asinine to say that somebody is going to undo and redo this every time? Can you imagine redoing this every time for such a small plane?
Terrible.
It'd be so dumb too. Because like, look how big this plane is. Okay? This plane is not that big. You can stick this on the dash of your car. It's like, I mean, you can fit it in like every vehicle we've ever owned. All right, so here it is. I can fit this in the tractor. That fly is starting to really irritate me. Okay, so thrust reverse, pulse width modulation, DSMX, different protocols, binding. Don't be overwhelmed. Just pick up a little bit, guys. If you learn 5% of what we talk about in this video and you get it good, you'll be 5% better than you were when you started. And you're like, but Brian, I was hoping to be at 100. Well, better luck next time, because you're gonna have a next time, okay?
There's more videos. There's
more videos, thousands of them, okay? No, you don't have to watch thousands of videos to find success with this plane, but we want you guys to understand that if your expectations are that you're gonna walk away from this one video knowing everything, you're gonna be let down. We're gonna do our best, but we have to keep it to a dull roar. We can only have like a 4-hour video for a ready-to-fly plane before people start throwing things. Okay, XT60 plug. That goes to the electronic speed control. The electronic speed control is up here. It's kind of hard to see. And you're like, but Brian, where does the battery go? Do I just like put it in there like that? No, you don't. And I'll show you where to put it. I'm gonna show you right now because we're right here. Look, pull it. It's got a little clippy doohickey. Very good battery length. Very good length. That pulls out, the Velcro fights you the whole way, and then how in the heck are you supposed to get it actually out? It doesn't come out. It just slides back.
Oh.
Well, that's obnoxious. Why didn't they make it come out? It would have been so much easier. Well, whatever. We're going to put it in now. Okay,
Sure.
so we're gonna put it in. And you're like, but Brian, you don't even have the prop, the landing gear, the drop tanks. How is this thing supposed to fuel its flight? Okay, fine. I'll put those things on. These, they look like they're ambidextrous. There is a little bit of a detail there. That would receive a sticker. Okay, so I'm just gonna drop this in there and slip it back. Push where the flap would be, please. Oh, good lordy lord. I don't like that at all. That does not feel like it's going. Okay, I'm just gonna go in again, push it down tight. Okay, push it into the wing and then back. There we go. Got it that time.
Really far.
By the way, that is a beautiful drop tank for being a small plane. I gotta say, this plane, I'm nervous it's gonna fly like crap. I'm nervous because we had some 750 millimeters back in the day from Volantics. Some of the worst flying P-51s we've ever had. And they make some decent stuff.
Right.
But yeah, not good. And you know what? You know what? Everybody wants to start there because they're like, hey, I don't have a lot of money to spend, dude. I just need it cheap. Let me tell you something. Fast, cheap, or good. Which one do you want? Pick two, right? That's what they say. But in this case, you want this plane to fly good. And if it doesn't fly good, I don't care how beautiful the drop tank is. If it's a turd that's beautiful, I'll let you know that. That SR-71, that thing flies okay, but it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Do I want it? Yes. But we also know a guy who used to fly the SR-71, so we have a special place in our heart for it, okay? Also, it's awesome. How many times have I flown that plane?
Once.
Yeah. Well, whatever we
twice.
did for the video.
Two flights.
I'll never probably fly it again because I don't care. I've already proven it'll fly.
Yeah.
I don't need to fly it anymore,
We're
okay?
gonna put it on our bathroom wall.
That's right. I need to make a plaque so it can go in where the toilet wine can be
Bert's
made.
gonna come sign it.
That's right. It needs to say something about toilet wine. So that's how we met Bert.
It does.
Okay, so we're dropping this in, and then we're gonna spin it around. There's like a little rust or something on it. That's very unusual. They snap in super easy.
Are those ambidextrous?
No.
No. Oh, because
they
the
have a
wheel
different-
fans go to the outside.
Yep.
Sorry.
So this goes here. It's kind of unusual that they go to the outside, that they would go outboard like that, but whatever. I gotta say, guys, this is an absolutely gorgeous scale lines on this plane. I hope it flies good, okay? Because here's the thing, at Brian Phillips RC, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help us, God. We say that because there's a lot of people on YouTube that they just want to sell stuff. We want to sell stuff. Bad, okay? Because that's how we fund this extravaganza. And we're getting ready to build a gigantic building. It's gonna cost a fortune, more than our house probably, okay? And I wanna fly helicopters. And I wanna do all these crazy things that just don't happen without money. But I love this stuff. I mean, I really love it. I like live it. And if you can't tell that from watching the videos, you're missing something, okay? We're not just trying to sell stuff, but as we grow this hobby, we want everybody to find success in it because then that makes people that love the hobby just like me, and it's like this disease. It just spreads. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent there. But the truth is, we want to sell stuff too. But if this thing sucks, we want to teach you that it sucks so that you can buy something better. Because there are better choices. There are choices that just recently came out within like hours of this plane. We just want you to know there's always a check bid for everything we do here. And we don't care where you land, so long as it's greasy and smooth and buttery. Okay? Lots of puns today. All right, so battery. Let's stick the battery in. Okay.
Or are you putting shelf liner on that?
I don't know. I can't get the dang thing out.
Oh, okay. Not
So, well, yeah, we will. Okay, so Velcro. So the recommendation from the manufacturer is that you would take this Velcro off and you would stick it here. And that would work perfectly fine. But I don't do anything
if
that's
you
easy.
only ever had one battery ever.
I don't like Velcro, and I will show you on my batteries. I have many, many batteries. I have Velcro on very few of them. Why? Because a shelf liner is just so dang good at what it does. What is shelf liner, you might ask? Can I show them in your drawers?
No, there's not any in there. It's in there.
This thing needs some shelf liner. There's no way you could put a cup on a shelf and have it not slide out. The same is true for a battery. Okay, let's get an example battery. Oh, China Hobby Line. Wow, look at that. That would slide very easy, okay? Now, I'm just gonna show you. Take it. We have to demonstrate this every time. Remember, guys, if you're watching this and you're like, Brian, I've seen this demonstration 1,000 times.
Welcome
We've
back.
done it 1,000 times. But there's always new people, and that's why we're addressing the crowd. It's a mixed crowd. We got the brand new hobbyist, we got the returning hobbyist, and that's why we love doing this.
And we have the guy that flew the SR-71.
And we have the guy that flew the SR-71, making toilet wine.
You don't have to buy the ugliest shelf liner you can find either. You can
This
buy
is
something
very
prettier.
ugly, but just check this out. Okay, so now I kind of screwed myself there, okay? Because I shouldn't have stuck it on there first. So watch.
Oh.
Slide. When you get a little bit of pressure, like, it will hold it. This does not work as good as that other shelf liner with the balls on it.
Oh, you like the bally stuff better?
No, I don't like it better because it lets the adhesive soak through.
Yeah.
Okay. So while I do like it in that it works better because there's more contact area, this stuff doesn't let the adhesive through, which keeps my batteries from getting all sticky and weird and goopy.
Yeah, that's not good.
And I don't like being all sticky and goopy. Okay, so this is gonna go back in. Instead of sticking to the battery itself, it's gonna stick onto the Velcro. And then as soon as we get just even a fractional amount of that downward pressure, look at this. We have a spectator
Maybe
here.
he could get the fly.
Yeah, get the fly, cat. Yeah, that.
That would happen.
All right, so this one here, we'll just slip it in. So instead of having to like hold this down really, really tight, we can just get a little bit of pressure on it and it'll work. Okay, so slide this battery in. By the way, a plane that's hard to load a battery in is gonna be less likely to be flown by yours truly or by you, okay? So I'm undoing this Velcro, high quality Velcro, a little bit thick for what we got going on here, okay? Which is ironic because the opposite was true of the last one we did like a day ago, okay? So you see that's down. You'll notice that it's a little too long. Now, I never trim these things, but maybe one of these years I will, because that is gonna be a pain in the neck to deal with.
Can you do your normal little like twisty up on itself thing?
Like this, like that.
Yeah, it'll still fit in the.
Will it clear on the top?
Yeah, it will right now.
And then
That
this.
part's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
Tuck
incredible.
it down.
I don't know, some people are better with tucking things than I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that all you're going?
Yeah. And you're like, but what are you gonna do with the other strap? Nothing. That's for when you put a bigger battery in, I guess. You see that Velcro is sliding by the clips. See, now it's clipped in, okay?
Except
now,
your battery.
shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
'Kay.
If it shifted, I'll know where it shifted. Now we can't check the center of gravity yet, even though it's marked. And you might be tempted to, but you don't have this on and you don't have the prop on. So if you're brand new to the hobby, this is where you will stop. You will make sure things work before we put on the props. So let's do that because this is gonna be brand new. We're gonna pause for a second. Okay, so we're gonna turn on our transmitter to have full control. We're gonna move the throttle stick all the way down. We're gonna hold it right here. I'm not worried if that motor turns on. I don't think it will. It probably won't. I'm not super worried. Okay, then I'm gonna plug in the battery. Okay. Ooh, look, fast flash. Stopped really quick. Now it's connected. Oh, nice LED, super bright.
And not flashing.
Not flashing. Dancing. So that, and lots of beeping, lots of obnoxious noises. I don't know what they mean. Doesn't really matter. The point is it's initiated. You're like, what do you mean initiated? There's an initiation cycle for that little box, and that is going to tell it its position in time and space. Because when we move, it needs to know where level is, okay? So also, I noticed that that's not spinning. That's always kind of handy because if the prop was on, it'd be spinning, okay? Now it's spinning, okay? See, the surfaces are all moving. Oh, look, oh no, somebody forgot to hook up the elevator. No, they didn't. They did that on purpose. Why are you yelling, Brian? Calm down. Okay, check it out. Watch this. Uh-oh. Why are those ailerons all weird like that? Oh, it's trying to find the quickest route to level. So we're in auto leveling. Which switch do you suppose we need to move? Come over here, please. Which switch? I don't know. It didn't change when I switched it. That one changed it, okay? Now it's just kind of making noise. Now it's doing nothing. Now it's trying to go auto level, okay? Look at the elevator. Oh, it's not hooked up. Okay, why do we need to make sure we're not on auto level right now, camera crew?
Because you don't want the plane to be trying to adjust its position.
Stopped. In the middle position, it's off. In the top position, it's stabilized. In the that's off, and that's auto leveling. So this is stabilized, this is off, this is auto leveling. So we want to go to the middle where it's off, okay? Now that we've established it's off based on those criteria, we can lay it upside down. Now I can hook up my mechanical connection to control the elevator, because we can assume that's centered unless I move the stick. You see? Look at the stick, I'm moving the stick, okay? So now I've unmoved the stick, and I'm gonna put this back. I want this to be square with that, like this, like this. That means I need to go in. So I'm gonna go 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4, like this. Oh, I need to come out to 1. Okay, so that's 1 half, centered, and then we'll snap it, okay? Just like that, got it? Finger behind, oh, I don't quite have enough room. So because I'm lazy, I'm gonna use forceps, but pliers would work fine. I'm grabbing from behind, trying to snap, and I snapped, okay? So we got a nice alignment there. Show them, point with your finger.
Yep.
So now when I pull the elevator, it moves, beautiful. Now, before we get any further, we don't have a prop, we don't have a canopy, we have the wires all connected, and we have the battery in a spot. Is it the right spot? I don't know. We're gonna check the direction of travel, because this is where you can save yourself a lot of trouble. Also, I want you to take note of that flashing light. Okay, so in the off condition, it's got a slow heartbeat. In the stabilized, it has a solid light. In the auto leveling, it has a fast heartbeat. Okay, off and stabilized. So at this point, and from here going forward, I'll leave the stabilized on unless I indicate otherwise, okay? Now look, here, elevator up, elevator down, yaw left, yaw right, steerable tail wheel's working, roll left, roll right. We didn't have to make any changes. That's pretty handy. And also because I don't want to remember all that crap, I'm gonna mark my transmitter and like, oh, don't mark it, Brian. I'm marking it. We got a marker, nothing special marker. We're gonna mark, remember, no throttle cut on here, so you gotta be careful too. So this is gonna be stabilized, stabilizer, okay, off, and this is gonna be auto leveling, so auto level. Don't be afraid to mark stuff, because get this. Guess who's in charge when you get up in the air? You are. And only you can prevent forest fires or something like that. All right, so the stabilizer's working. Here's my next test. I need to test to see what direction everything's stabilizing. Oh yeah, stabilizing the right direction on that, and I'm gonna show you from my perspective in a second. Stabilizing correct, yep. Stabilizing correct, yep. I'm gonna show you. Once you've established what direction things are going, look at the elevator. It should go up when I resist up. Up, it's resisting. Down, it's resisting. Up, it's resisting. Down, it's resisting. Okay? Rudder, going this way, it's resisting. Going that way, it's resisting. It's resisting. It's resisting. Now aileron, when I lift the wing, that's gonna go up. Up, now down. Up, now down. Okay, if you can't see or you're not sure, put your hand on the surface and roll it. Fast, vigorous movement, it will correct more. This one's very easy to see, okay? Elevator, same thing, up, down. Remember, whatever direction you're moving the plane, you're not telling it to move, so it shouldn't be moving, so it's gonna resist. That's called the stabilizer, okay? Oh yeah, I can definitely tell, right? Now, why do we want a stabilizer? Because let's say you're flying along, and the wind goes, whoa! What do you want to happen? You want this aileron to say, no soup for you, environment. And you want that over here to also say, no soup for you, because this is the roll axis. Well, what if it's on the pitch axis? Let's say it blows here and it goes, whoa! Well, you want it to resist the pitch down moment on the tail. So watch what happens. Down! It goes down when it gets pushed up or whatever. It's just, that's called the pitch axis. And what about the roll axis? Let's say it's getting blown really hard here. Woo! It's gonna resist whatever direction the environment is. I'm the environment. Environment, it's gonna resist actively and pursuant to all 3 dimensions simultaneously. That's what a stabilizer does. Off means it flies like old style. It just moves based on what you tell it to do and no impact from the environmental offset from the stabilizer. Now, if you go all the way down, auto leveling adds the two, both stabilization and auto leveling. So remember, it's also going to limit how much you can bank or pitch your plane. So pitch or bank, okay? And that is because you don't want a pilot that's auto leveled to go over past center. It will complicate the scenario for the stabilizer. So watch. I can hold the stick down and over, and that means this will tell us the extent to which we can move. That's about where it stops. Okay, so that's where you can bank, and that's about where you can pitch, and it's going to stop at that point, unless the inertia of the movement kicks you over the top, and guess what's going to kick in then? The stabilizer. Okay, so remember, the stabilizer stabilizes both environmental impact like wind, but also inertial movements, which is why if you have too much of it, you will oscillate at high speeds. So if your stabilizer gain is too high, you'll notice that when you get to a certain point, you'll be flying along, doing just fine, and then you'll start inducing a self-induced oscillation. And it'll get worse and worse until you let go of the stick, slow down, or change something. That's called an oscillation. Okay? So hopefully you learned something. You can apply that, and if you can apply a complex set of scenarios, you'll be better off, but you don't have to fully understand it, just use it. You'll feel the difference, okay? And yes, there is no tactile feedback on a transmitter with regard to the way the plane's flying, other than maybe a vibration function for like a timer or something like that on a more sophisticated radio system, not this. But there is feel, you feel it. It's weird because your eyes, your senses give you feedback, and you can feel the way a plane flies. It's very strange. It's very abstract, but it's true. And anybody who's flown will confirm that for you. Okay, texture. Now that we trust this plane, I'm not gonna chop my fingers off. We have the throttle stick down. We're gonna get it away from us so we don't accidentally bump it. We've confirmed the direction of travel. We've confirmed the direction of correction. Now we're gonna put this on, okay? So this just slides back. It's a very small adapter, by the way, I gotta say. Okay, so it goes back. And I don't like the gap, it's a big gap.
Is it back all the way?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a beautiful prop, by the way. I gotta say, I gotta try something. I gotta try something. We don't ever do this side-by-side stuff. We're not doing a side-by-side. I just gotta see the difference in size. Yep, it's bigger, and that would look really good on there. I'm just saying. Not that I know anything about that plane, except that you just saw the video yesterday or a couple of days ago or whatever we ended up doing.
Yeah, recently.
Here on Brian Phillips RC, we work with a number of different affiliate partners, one of which is Arrows, and then many of other brands as well. We don't do side-by-sides on brand new releases out of respect for the people that we're working with. We're not trying to hide anything from anybody. We're not trying to twist anybody's arms. That is a beautiful fitment.
Yeah, it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very simple design, very effective. And I gotta say, incredibly impressed with this prop. If this plane flies good, that is not very much purchase.
No, it's not.
That is gonna go back further. You were correct in your assessment.
I was gonna say.
So this nut is gonna go on the tip.
Drop that in the garbage can.
No, it wouldn't. It's gonna push and close that gap.
Okay.
That is so good. Guys, I gotta say, I'm like really impressed with the way that fits. Looks. None of these manufacturers own us, okay? We work with them, we make money. We don't care which one you buy them from. We make money when you buy them. We make small commissions, that's how we make money. And then we make money on ad revenue. And then sometimes we have people that offer to pay us to do videos. We pretty much always turn that down. Not always. There are people that have offered. This is 8mm. We've never said yes, basically. Okay, so 8mm. That worked so easy. I did not expect that at all.
That was great. And
look at that, perfect
gap.
Penetration now.
Yep.
And I like the gap, I gotta say. They did some things better. They did some things better. Clip on, I hate. Make sure that's torqued down. If you're in any doubt, get it right the first time, because you can't easily redo this because they don't always pop off. Now, I don't normally do this, but I wanna just test and make sure we don't have a big problem.
Move that.
Yeah, I'm gonna spin it, okay? So I'm gonna secure the plane, I'm gonna give it some throttle. Oh, yes. That's full throttle. It's got some juiciness to it.
That looks great. with
I
the
wish there
yellow
was a
tips.
throttle cut. I know that prop looks
The
really dang
stickers,
good.
yeah, that's
So
nice.
guys, when we work with these manufacturers, I'm just saying this because it's going to be hard for people not to notice this, okay? When they're so close, sometimes, what's the nice way of putting it? Sometimes manufacturers have pissing matches. We try not to pick winners and losers. You guys pick winners and losers. We just present the facts as we see them, okay? We like a good plane. We like a good plane. We want a good plane to succeed because good planes, this is terrible. I don't like doing this. It's very awkward to get this on because of the nature of that design. But I gotta say, it is a new design and it's snapped on. And I gotta say, that looks freaking sweet.
Good.
By the way, having a small hole there, it makes it look good. And then let's stick this on. I gotta say, okay. Looks pretty dang good for being 850 millimeters. The scale lines are delicious. The prop looks delicious. Down and right should help with P factor, show them what I'm talking about. This is down and right, which is good. That's gonna help a lot with P factor because this thing's gonna have a lot of power. Look at the plant. It's like a hurricane, okay? 3S,
That's a lot of power.
1300 milliamp hour is gonna be a good size class. That fly just about went through the prop. Oh man, I would have loved nothing more than to blow up that fly in that prop. It'd been kind of gross because we're filming our kitchen. And by the way, if you guys didn't know this, this is our real kitchen. Yes, we are going to be making food here soon. And when I say we, I mean my wife. The lollipop.
But that is not what it says.
It says lollipoop. I thought maybe I missed something. Okay, lollipoop. Okay, good. Is that what it's supposed to say?
I doubt it.
No, I think it is.
Is it really?
Yeah, I bet it is.
We'll Google it.
So anyway, I gotta say, show them this line though. Look at this line. Look at that.
It's beautiful.
So
Everything about it is gorgeous.
here's my issue, okay? So full disclosure, we have a bunch of different brands we work with, and we want to speak to this because we know it's gonna come up, okay? We try to be very transparent with our audience. But it does pain us when we see such a good rendition so close to another good rendition, okay?
Yeah.
Because we know that that's gonna necessarily lead to animosity for somebody, and hopefully it's not us. Because we love both of these brands because they target our audience. Our audience is people that are brand new to the hobby, people that are coming back to the hobby predominantly, and then a bunch of people in the middle, okay?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what's our objective on Brian Phillips RC? We wanna teach you guys how to get in the air. We wanna talk you out of the chair and into the air. Those are two different things because talking you into flying and teaching you how to fly are two different scenarios, okay? We also wanna bring you back to the hobby if you have been gone for a long time, maybe you had a hiatus because of a health issue or a family issue, or you just were too busy or whatever, okay? We know that stuff happens a lot, okay? So we're not trying to make anybody feel bad about giving up on a hobby that's perfect, that's amazing, but we do want to encourage you to get back to it as soon as you can, okay? Let's check the CG. So the CG is marked on the bottom, so that's kind of dumb, because on the bottom, you're not measuring it this way. You're not measuring it from the bottom, you're measuring it from the top. Okay, so that's kind of a miss, but it's very tail heavy right now, okay? So if you had a bigger battery would make this more nose heavy, okay? So you can either put weight in the nose, which is gonna be challenging to do because there's not much access up there. Secondly, I don't wanna get cut, so I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this. I operate with a throttle cut all the time, guys. I always use it, I call it out, it's annoying to listen to, but I have been cut one time and I was doing some very sophisticated stuff with two transmitters or two receivers and an ultra micro with twin engines. I was screwing around and I barely got like a nick on my fingers. Some people have sent me images of arms chopped up and down, hospital visits, all this stuff. I don't want to see that crap, okay? Be careful, don't hurt yourself.
Yep.
Secondly, don't burn your house down. Lipos are the second risk in this hobby. Charge on a hard surface. This is granite, okay? It's thick, it's huge. It's like a whole piece of granite, okay? You're not gonna burn your house down. That thing could catch on fire right there and it's not gonna hurt us. But there's a pile of batteries over there that would hurt you, okay? We have fire extinguishers that are out of sight, 3 of them, within 10 feet, okay? Well, 15 feet. There's one in there, there's one under here, there's one over there. If you don't believe me, just hold still. Here's a real fire extinguisher. And yes, it is full. And yes, I know how to use this, okay? Truth is, we take this stuff seriously. And yes, I could get a better fire extinguisher, but you know, how many other YouTubers are pulling out their fire extinguishers? And also, we have a system that I got quoted that would put out a fire even from a LiPo and stop a runaway. And it was like 3,500 bucks. So I'm not sure we're gonna get that yet. But if we keep doing that, we might end up doing that. The truth is, we have more exposure than the average show, which is why I push so hard towards smart batteries like this, instead of not smart batteries like this, even though we do work with Giant Hobbyline, okay? So Giant Hobbyline makes a mean pack for a low price. But there's a higher risk without a battery management or a smart battery. Battery management circuit or battery management system is what makes a pile of batteries a little bit less risky in our environment, okay? I'm not trying to preach safety. We don't do a lot of that crap here because we realize most of the people we're talking to are probably our age or older. They have skills. They've seen people have their houses burned down and they've had bad things happen in their real life. We don't want to make light of it, but we also don't want to pretend it doesn't happen. Okay?
You just have to be aware of what level of risk you could
You're
tolerate.
willing. Yep. So let's get back to this here. So guys, don't, and I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Cameron.
No, that was
but
it.
The truth is, risk tolerance is not something that we're going to pretend to know for you. I'm going to hold my finger here. I'm going to slide this battery forward. Remember, we're trying to get the CG right. But battery safety came up in the midst of that. Okay, so I'm going to pull this tighter this time. And you see, it just wants to pull. See, the problem is I don't want to damage this foam. Okay?
Right.
So that's what I'm fighting. And you know, to be honest with you, can I just cut it for once?
Yeah.
I never do this. I should do this more often. But you know, I'm gonna put a 2200 in there if I don't do this, right?
I don't know if you're gonna fit a 2200 in there.
Lengthwise? Oh yeah, I could just put it out here.
Okay, maybe.
It's still gonna fit.
It's still good, yeah.
Okay. I don't recommend cutting this for a variety of reasons, but I'm just gonna tell you this right now. Cut it at an angle. The tip will make it easier. Did you see what I just did there?
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm waiting for you to like get that out of the garbage.
Can. Sorry.
Oh, you're gonna like clip the whole doohickey?
Yeah, I'm just doing it.
Oh, wow.
If I regret it, I'll just literally take this whole thing out, figure out a way, and slide the strap.
Yeah.
Okay. So now when I do this, I just have to slide this, push it down with my thumb, and then depress it on the side.
The other thing that you need to be aware of, just because I'm looking from here, is you're gonna push that battery tray so hard you're gonna break it.
What are you talking about?
Like when you are pushing down to tighten that battery, that tray flexes a lot.
That's because, yes, that's
So
because
you
you're
need
out of the tray and you're
careful.
into the foam.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes. And then listen, I never hit the clip. Okay? So that's all the way forward. And what happens is that Velcro goes around the pack, and then there's two little clips that it rides on like this. There's 2 points like this, 1, 2, and 2 points like this, 3, 4. So it's actually 8 top and bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? And that plastic rail slides into the nose. We've seen it on a few P-51s. We've seen it on a P-39. There's a bunch of them that have it. And it's very nice. But the Velcro strap that goes around the pack gets binded on those things, okay? So try to get it to snap. See, it's in front of it. It should be behind it. You see that right there? Mm-hmm. That should be behind it, like that, okay? Try to get it snapped. The Velcro will trick you into thinking you're tight and you're not, and that can slide back in flight and cause problems. Okay, now I want you to just see this all the way down, lay it down, verify it's down. You see where my elbow is? Mm-hmm. If this thing starts, it's gonna stall out, but it's gonna be, I'm gonna have a tendency to pull my hand away, and as I do that, it's gonna go chop, 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 chop. So if you're a smart feller and not a fart smeller, you're gonna go like this. You're gonna plug that XT60 in, then you're gonna wait. You're gonna have your hand support, wait for the flashing. That fast flash will stop. It's gonna go through a sequence where it starts. There's lots of beeping. I don't know what it all means, but it doesn't matter because it hasn't started. Now I'm gonna move the throttle stick. And there is admittedly a lot of range where there's nothing. Dead stick here, okay? See that? Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good, probably 20% of the stick before it engages. So I like that, that's good. You know what I'd like better?
Throttle cut.
A throttle cut. And how much does a switch cost? I don't know.
Well,
$2?
what does that other switch do? I don't even
Nothing.
know.
I'm gonna try it. Definitely not throttle cut. That is gonna control that other channel that's not hooked up. Okay, so now, because there's some of you that are asking the question that I wanna ask, is the CG right? Good question, okay? That's question number one. Question number 2 is, does the thrust reverse function on the yellow wire? Because if you're buying this plane as a plug and fly, which you can get the finish levels in plug and play, or ready to fly. Ours was ready to fly. So you can get it in plug and play. And if you get plug and play, then the recommended receiver on my end, which we'll link to, would be probably, if you're gonna pull out the Vector, I'd go with a 630. This is more expensive. You're gonna have AS3X and stabilization. You can watch a plethora of videos where we set up very similar models. Or you can do the 620 if you're gonna use the Vector stabilizer, and you can do the exact same thing, but instead of having the Fly Sky, you can set up with your NX10 or your IX20 or whatever it is that you fly with. If you use the 631, you're gonna have a big antenna. It's gonna cause issues, kind of like the issues we had with this, okay? We have to check CG, and then we're gonna go down with the wire and see if we can get thrust reverse to work, okay? We trust it, it's not moving. We're gonna hope it stays, okay? I'm now balancing dang near perfect at the CG. Show them the people. See where I am? Middle fingers right underneath where the center of gravity would be, okay? I'm gonna trust that that center of gravity mark is correct, but if you don't wanna trust, you can verify, okay? So let's open up the manual. Trust but verify. Who said that? Weird. Okay. 60 to 70 millimeters. 60 to 70 millimeters, are you kidding me? It's a small plane. You got a 10 millimeter range? Good Lord. Okay, guys, check this out. Those LEDs are bright.
Yeah, they are.
They're blinding from here, which is perfect. That's what you want, okay? Calipers, open the calipers, wake up. We'll go to 70 first, right at 7, that was 69.99, interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this plane on its back and just measure. Okay, so from the inboard wing tip, there you go, so 70, that's showing just a little bit to the back of the range. And then 60, where do they say to start from? There's 60?
From where you are, that.
Okay, so the range is actually from like here to here.
So that's like in the middle of the range.
It's
pretty close.
2/3 of the way back,
okay,
or 3/4 of the way back, okay? But I'm not marking it again. If it's marked as CG, I'm fine with it if it's in the range.
Yeah.
Now, truth is, guys, center of gravity is a highly subjective matter, just like exponential or expo, just like rates, all that stuff. It is highly subjective. I'm not gonna tell you what's right. I'm gonna tell you what the manufacturer specs. Now, the way that a plane pivots is engineered into the size and speed and power of the elevator pivot. Because you don't pivot the plane all you do is you induce the change of position, okay? Same thing with the rudder, but we don't talk a lot about the center of mass. We just talk about the center of gravity because that's where it balances, okay? You can also balance it this way, but like it's understable from the bottom like that. I always balance it like this, okay? There are some planes that you center of gravity right side up. If it's a high wing plane, for instance, like that cabin right there is a high wing. That's a PC, what is that, PC6?
6.
All right, so popping off the canopy. We talk a lot about models on this plane because we've been doing these videos for almost 10 years. We have literally 2,000 plus videos on Brian Phillips RC that you can watch right now. You can learn more than you ever wanted to know, and then some, on Brian Phillips RC. And we're here to serve you in the RC community. So if you're brand new to the channel, smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and you'll be notified of new content as it comes. We're gonna teach you as much as we can. That means that our videos are long. We do short form content that's highlights from our long content. So if you like long content, you're in the right place. If you saw a short and you're here because of a short, put in the comments. We'd like to know, because we think shorts are a huge waste of time. But we do them to please the YouTube gods. And
because we have to.
Because we have to, okay? We don't want to. We think short form content is just a totally different thing. And we're not saying it's invaluable, like it's better or worse. It's just, I mean, I don't think it's as important.
Our core
demographic doesn't do short traffic. Okay? Okay, so, which is incidentally why we ask you guys to buy stuff, because it helps to support us, because we do long format content while the other guys are making a 5-minute video, we're making a 2-hour and 55-minute video.
It keeps you alive.
Okay, so now we have a channel 6 and then a bind plug.
Is it possible that other switch is like a high rate, low rate, and it's already...
No.
Okay.
That is impossible. It's for this.
Okay.
100%. So this yellow wire is gonna go where the orange wires go, and then watch what happens. Now we're gonna be in command of that with this other switch, almost certainly. You know how I know? Skills and expertise from failure. Forward thrust. I don't see a change in state. Okay, so here's how I test my theory. We may be able to control this channel, and we may not be able to control this channel. Let's find out by moving. The mode is hooked up to the next channel, so we can change the mode here, and you can see the change in status of the light. Okay, good. Now, let's just move it down to the other switch and see what happens. This is gonna confirm my theory that we have full command and control of this. Yep, we do.
Okay.
This switch is switchable for channel 6, this is channel 5, okay? So if you wanted to move this to the other side, you could. Not a big deal, that's all you have to do. But just to be clear, that yellow wire does not appear to give us thrust reverse, controllable thrust reverse. Okay, so I'm going to signal. I'm just gonna try this again. All the way down. Definitely forward thrust, it's blowing on my arm, I can feel it, okay? When they rub my hairs on my leg and they change colors, and oh, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. Change to the center position, change to the top position. There is no change of state here, guys. So what that tells me is throttle is down, no throttle cut, okay? That tells me that this channel is controllable, and yet the yellow wire is not going to give us reverse thrust, okay? So it's probably a programming channel of sorts for whatever this electronic speed controller is. Or it is used for some other function that I'm not aware of, maybe something else. Now, why do I talk about that so much? Because it's important for you to understand that there are features that I'm not gonna discuss on this channel, and we discussed a lot of them. You can go through this manual and find out whatever you wanna learn, and then you can also go through this vector manual and figure out what you'd like to learn here too. You can also do S-bus PPM. That means one cable comes over from like a satellite receiver, and you can do all the channels through that one wire, which is really nice. We don't often do that, but just so you know, that comes in the package. Now also, real quick, we're probably not going to add any of these decals, but you could go really crazy and add all sorts of really cool decals. These are wet decals. Yep. Okay, these would take quite a while to put on. I would just spend the time to put it on maybe a big plane, but not a small plane like this. Here's why. If this plane flies like crap, it's gonna be flown once, okay? Just because I have a lot of planes and I love planes, but I have good P-51s. And we just did one the other day, it was very good. And so I would just defer to that one if this one sucks, okay? I'm gonna slide this back down in, now that we don't need that. We can put it right back where it came from. Remember, you don't wanna kink those cables that are coming out of that cabinet, those blue, or not blue, but the gray cables that are coming out of that cabinet. And when I say cabinet, I mean the case of the actual receiver, okay? If they get kinked, then you'll undermine the performance of the cable, potentially stopping one of the antennas. There's two of them, it's called diversity antenna, from working. If it's a coax cable, so you have an outside sheath, then you have an inner conductor, and then you have out here is a shield, and then the conductor is right in the center. If you kink it and break it, you can short the shield to the transmission line and break it. And believe it or not, there's actually more than one type of coax cable. But like the RG6 that comes into your house, or the RG5, depending on how old your house is, that would be used for like old cable TV and stuff like that. That's a single coax, but we work in the industrial world. We have some biaxial cables that have two conductors through the center. And there's actually more than that. There's triaxial and so on and so forth. And it's very unusual. Usually they're used in ring loop communication systems where there's a transmit and a receive line, okay? Did you get all that, camera crew?
I got it, yep.
All right, so I'm gonna unplug this. Plane's safe. It's basically ready to fly with the exception of topping off the battery, okay? So in closing, is this plane everything that Arrows wants you to think it is? Okay, I'm gonna tell you some pros and cons right now before I move on and wrap this up, okay? It's got way more detail than the competitive offering of recent vintage, but you are gonna spend a lot more time making that detail come out, okay? You can get it in a ready-to-fly package, and here's why. Because you're in the United States of America, and when you are an American company operating in the United States of America, you have to follow the United States American rules. If you're gonna fly this thing in the United States of America, and you're gonna offer it as a ready-to-fly, guess what they would have to include? To be legal, they would have to include this, okay? Talking battery, transmitter, plane, all that. Since this is China, China cheats, China doesn't care, they don't care, okay? You can buy your own remote ID if you want it. This thing's like 35 bucks, this thing's like 100 bucks, okay? You don't need to have a complex Sky module. This thing can plug into that battery and be fully legal and compliant. This thing has an internal battery. You wanna see how hard it is to use this? Look, watch this, power. That's how hard it is to use that one, okay? Very simple, it's on, okay? Now I've turned it off, it's off. 35 bucks. You're legal, you fly that at the park, the Gestapo comes, they start throwing people on the pokey, they're selling soap on the rope by the box full, and you're just laughing all the way home to see your family that you love. Now I'm not saying it's gonna be that bad, because you might be able to watch Brian Phillips RC in there. But the truth is, it's up to you if you want to follow these ridiculous, idiotic rules or not. The truth is, I don't think most people are going to have compliance issues, but that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. I don't like them any more than you. I think it's ridiculous. When we started this hobby, we flew from our neighborhood and we had no problems. And we were not in the AMA. We did not care about the stupid AMA rules. We still probably don't care, but we are in the AMA because we go to one event. And that's why we have it. So, because we have to be compliant to be in the event. And by the way, the event is awesome. And it's worth,
Yep.
for lack of a better term, sucking the fat one for that deal, okay?
Yep.
We're not for big nanny state. We're for small government. Get out of my life, government. Go shoot rockets at bad guys and leave the rest of it to me, okay? But at the end of the day, we understand you live in a real world and you might have a Karen that lives down the street and we don't because we bought the street. So we didn't have to deal with Karens, okay? Which ironically enough, our neighbors bought their property 1 hour before we bought ours. And I sometimes wonder if they wish we would have been there an hour before that.
Probably.
It's okay, move to the country so it can be quiet. Brian moves in next door.
Yeah, sorry.
Some of you would like that, but I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. Anyway, the whole point is we love it out here. We spent a small fortune to be where we are so we can do what we do. And we're not going to go into the compliance issues that we have gone through to be compliant and legal because we don't, and we're not lawyers.
Everybody has to make their own decision.
Everybody gets to make their own decision.
And things change, so.
But we want to point out that there is a disparity between an American company that runs legally and above board and a Chinese company that doesn't have to follow the rules because they're like, oh, well, screw you very much, America, we don't care. We're just going to sell some things to your people, okay? And then your people are required then to follow rules if they want to. Is somebody going to come check on you? I don't know, probably never. So remember, what's the best way to stay out of trouble with the law? Keep the people that see you doing this happy. Keep the people that enjoy this experience thinking it's a positive one because it is one of the most wholesome, positive, invigorating, difficult, challenging, hard, and fun and rewarding and immersive experiences that you can involve yourself in. And yet for some reason the government thinks they have something to say about it. You know, sometimes people are just flying toys because they love them. You know, not everything is meant to be some attack on some VIP. Okay, this is an airplane, it's a toy, okay? There's nothing dangerous about it, nothing, except for how dangerously good it looks. And I gotta say, that's one of the reasons why we do this on Brian Phillips RCs because we love this hobby, we wanna see it grow, we want legislative authority, and if we have more people doing it, we can shut down some of this garbage. That is if we ever have a chance to unelect bureaucrats. So if you could just get back to me when we get that figured out, that'd be great. Because the FAA is super responsive to the people that they answer to. Oh wait, who is that? Nobody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can get a few of those things fixed in the next few years, I hope. But anyway, here's to hoping, guys. Beautiful plane. China, you did a good job. We're proud of you on this one. We're gonna tariff you to death. So pay your tariffs, buy this plane. All joking aside, we love this thing. It looks really good. I hope it flies half as good. If it flies as good as the competitive offering, it's probably going to take some market share from that particular offering. and that is disappointing for them. But I can tell you this right now, we try not to pick winners and losers. Again, you guys pick the winners and losers. We just demonstrate whether or not they worked for us. And keep in mind, that's just me. I'm not like one of every different skill set. I'm just where I am. You guys know where I am if you followed this channel for a while. I'm a better pilot than I was 10 years ago, that's for sure. And I love this hobby just as much, if not more, than I did 10 years ago. And I think you will too, if you get involved. There's never been an easier time to learn to fly. And I know you think that's crazy because we just talked about all this like legal stuff. The truth is, the legal stuff is so easy to get past. If you can fly at a FRIA, which is just like a flying field, you know, they pretty much approved them all after like tons and tons of pressure from lots of people. But a FRIA is a FAA recognized identification area, which is like counterintuitive. And plus they used an acronym within an acronym because that's what the idiots in the government do. FAA,
Federally recognized.
no, it's an FAA recognized
identification area. Yes.
And that means you don't need a remote ID. Okay, remote ID is a broadcast module that says, hey, I'm here, this is where I'm going, this is how fast I'm going that way, this is, you know, where I'm now going, this is how fast I'm going, and they can chart where you're going, where you're coming from, and so on and so forth. So if you're a bad actor, they can come find you. So all the bad actors are gonna put a module.
Of course.
Just had to think that.
They always do.
Yeah, because the bad guys
Always.
generally do that. We always sign
They
up.
always follow the rules.
Always follow the rules. Bad guys.
Right.
So, but all the normal guys like me that want to fly a beautiful looking plane are called drones now. So this is just something we have to deal with. Or not. We really don't care.
It's up to you.
Because it's up to you guys. But there is like a $35 option. It's very cheap from Ruco. We have that in the accessories, like where the glue is.
It's on the supplies tab.
Yeah, so on the supplies tab. So we should make it say supplies and accessories. Because I keep calling it that on accident.
No, but that's too long for my screen.
Okay, so Brian Phillips RC is our domain. It's our website, Brian Phillips RC. When you follow our short links, .me. So instead of .com, it's .me. So bprc.me. bprc.me. It's easy to remember that. Okay?
Those
Go
are
there.
our short links that we
Then you can compare this to a competitive offering by way of the video we did on that particular product. Now, maybe we were having a bad day that day, maybe we were having a good day this day, so that might give or take a little bit, but the flights will tell the tale, okay? And so I implore you, when you make a decision, a purchase decision on a plane, now this one's not very expensive, but I gotta say the dang thing looks freaking fantastic. More fantastic than the competitive offering, I might say. I'm just gonna say that right now because it looks really good. And by the time, if you were to go through the trouble and put
Add
these
all
on,
those
it
decals.
will look even better. And I gotta say, I have a strong inkling that this is not gonna fly half as good as the competitive offering.
Yeah.
Weights and measures here, guys.
We'll see.
Which one do you like better? Do you want it to fly better or look better? If you're flying it, it ain't gonna look this good after a few flights. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But it's gonna look dang good in the air when it flies by. And if it passes the 5-foot test, because you're not flying that far away from yourself. I'm looking at the canopy and the way the lights are reflecting off the plastic. This plastic is really good. It looks really good. So anyway, the scale lines get me every time. P-51, sometimes I think, and I've been doing this for 10 years, oh, another P-51. I catch myself saying that and I'm like, but I really like P-51s. So it's like we've had like 10 or 11 P-51s.
Probably. Yeah.
And I've liked all of them to one degree or another. We've probably had actually quite a few more than 10 or 11. We've probably had like 20.
If you count all the little ones.
And we've had a few of the same. So now, if you're wanting bigger, there's bigger to the tune of a 1,100 from Arrows. We were not huge fans of the 1.1 meter, okay?
We were not.
Then if you get into the 1.2 meter or the most recently released 1 meter that goes to a competitive offering, the 1 meter is not made by FMS, but the 1.2 is made by FMS. So it's considerably similar, but retracts flaps. LEDs, 4-bladed prop, very good power system, 3 or 4S. You're gonna have an amazing experience. You can see all that on Brian Phillips RC. So we're not here to pull the rug over anything here. We're here to demonstrate it to you so you guys can make up your own mind, okay? And by the way, we don't pick the timing on this stuff, so please don't punish the messengers.
Yeah.
If it was up to us, there had been a big gap, left a little bit of room for everybody to win, but they didn't ask.
They didn't ask us.
Oh, also, yes, you can easily and quickly pull off the mains, but the tail wheel, not so much, okay? If you pull off the tail wheel, you're gonna be unscrewing and doing a lot of work. I would not recommend planning on it. And also, four-bladed prop comes with one disadvantage, and it's a big one. When you belly land this sucker, you're gonna have to deal with that. So you're probably gonna have to leave the drop tanks off, which will break on the first landing. I promise you that. At least one of them, okay? If they don't, I stand corrected. Maybe do it on a frosty morning or land it in tall grass where you can just stall it into the tall grass, okay? But wheels up, wheels down is one of my favorite parts of flying a P-51, because if you bring it onto the mains and you get it flying, I'm gonna tell you this, the 1.1 had too much P factor and you could barely control it. You had to set the rudder up for like tons of extra throw so that you could just taxi the thing straight, because you'd have to take off like that or like that.
There's no adjustment on a ready-to-fly transmitter.
Yes, there is.
What? No.
There's an adjustment mechanically.
Mechanically.
Here.
I see. Yep.
You would go to the inside hole from the outside hole if you wanted more throw here. Now, the other thing you can do, because the camera crew brings this up, it's a good point. I'm glad you said that, because you were incorrect, which is uncommon. So I just wanted to make sure to really
knock that home.
See this? You could also go out one more hole. I think you're in the middle hole there. Okay, that would give you more throw. But just keep in mind, you remember the oscillation I talked about?
Right.
The oscillation could be the trade-off, okay? So if you have oscillation, oscillation could potentially destroy your flight characteristics at the high end, okay? What do you do to fix it? Put in a better stabilizer, take out the vector, just hardwire to a receiver, and you can make this thing do everything you want. So that's all I got for you. That's a lot of information for the lollipop here. P-51, I'm assuming that is correct. They've never messed up the tail art that way. Okay, so it is probably the lollipop. Leave your questions and comments in the comments section down below. If you want to support us in ways that don't include buying this plane, we have access to Patreon. That'd be a monthly support mechanism. YouTube membership, that's monthly support. We really appreciate you guys doing that, and that commitment to us financially helps a lot. It doesn't need to be like everything we need. That would be nice if there was one or two of you that did that. It'd be awesome, but we don't ever expect that. A couple of bucks is what usually people like to do, and that's really helpful, because a lot of you with a couple of bucks makes a big difference, okay? Big impact. And then super thanks, one-time donations. Maybe you aren't buying the plane, you're like, hey, I kind of feel bad. You gave me a lot of answers, but then I went and bought it over here. Fine, whatever, that's fine. Whatever. We're not trying to guilt trip people here. We want to share the joy of the hobby, but we do put a lot of work and effort into it. It's not just me and Megan, my wife, the wonderful camera crew. It is our 4 kids too, and they put up with a lot to make this channel happen. So just remember them as they sit in their dungeons, AKA their rooms, finish in the basement, the visitor quarters. And that's where they used to hide away, but, and 1,800 square feet of airplanes.
Yeah.
Not exaggerating.
No.
Oh, and then the last one is PayPal. If you just want to cut through all the BS and just throw a few bucks. Well, we don't really like to advertise that, but we do it because there's been so many people that ask. And I'm not just saying that because for years I was like, I'm not starting no Patreon begging flight. But the truth is, it's really worked out nice because some of our biggest supporters have connected with us. And one of them, his name is Nolan. And it helped to get P-51D landed right there in our property. And that's how we made the connection. So guys, it's not just about a few bucks transferred here and there. It's about real connections with real people. And when real people make real connections, real things happen. Okay, guys? This is just sort of an abstract idea that I wanted to bring to the earth. Because at the end of the day, we do love this hobby. And I'm a very real enthusiast, okay? I don't do this for money, but there is money involved, okay? I do it because I love it. That's why my living room looks like this, but we do happen to be constructing quarters. And there's more to come for that. By the way, if you don't know what the Dam Gift Shop is, it's gonna be a building that's next to our dam runway that's gonna be separate from the runway that you see us film on. And that's gonna be about 105 degrees off of our main runway, which is gonna be extended slightly. And then the dam runway is gonna hopefully be a crosswind. We originally were thinking a helipad, but I'm sort of torn on maybe doing a crosswind. And that would just extend past each other. So it'll look like a runway from the air, but it's actually just gonna be like a giant driveway that we call a runway for RC aircraft and full-scale aircraft. And then at the end, there'll be an apron that acts as the helipad if we ever are so fortunate to be able to land a real full-scale helicopter here, which I'm also working on, by the way. So if you guys fly full-scale helicopters and you're anywhere near central Iowa, to the extent that you can help us, even up to, and we would pay, whatever is legally allowed, because, you know, if you're not a commercial pilot, we understand we have to work within the purviews and the confines of the FAA rules. We are trying to get a discovery flight set up, and we are trying to set up landings for helicopters, real helicopters, not just toy helicopters like that. Talking like the kind you get in and fly. All right, that's all we got for you tonight. So much more to come from Brian Phillips RC. And yes, we're building an aerodrome, and yes, it is really happening. And yes, our excavator is way behind schedule, so don't blame me. Mother Nature and his bulldozer broke down. One of two big bulldozers. All right, that's all we got for tonight. Stay tuned, so much more from Brian Phillips RC. And by the way, Arrows, a beautiful P-51. This thing is really nice looking. I hope it flies good. If you have questions, leave them down below. We'll do our best to get back to you. And don't forget to smash the bell when you subscribe, because then you'll be notified of new content that's literally right around the corner. We have boxes. A couple of them are like this tall.
Stacked up.
This tall?
Yep.
This tall?
Yeah.
About, roughly?
Almost taller.
It's this wide? This little hint for you. And they're coming right away. So stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC.